guys. I was just watching an interview that Ari Spears did on DJ Vlad. Now, after what I heard on there, it was a little bit depressing, and this is what motivated me even more to give that extra boost, that extra energy, give the tough love to the Democrats. This is what's pushing me to push Democrats even more. So let me tell you what all Democrats, the officials, the candidates, the activists, the pundits, the voters, the delegates, this is what we all have to do and not do. Here's what we have to stop doing. Here's what we have to start doing. Now, I'll tell you this. I think this was either the night of or the night after the election. Let me just give you a random fact. This may not sound important, but it does kind of irritate me a little bit. According to Newsweek, there was one person who said that the reason that he voted for Trump over Harris is because Harris didn't go on Joe Rogan's podcast. Now, this person said that was the only reason he voted for Trump. If that isn't the dumbest thing I've heard, I mean, that is literally it's like, what the it makes no sense. So I'm pretty sure I didn't time that last one right. I'll get it right next time. I'm still working on that. Maybe I need to update the app or something, or get another app, whatever. But I was listening to Ari Spears talk when he was on DJ Vlad's show. And so here's the thing. So we know that Harris and Trump were doing interviews on a lot of different circuits that were outside of the television media, so outside of CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. Oh boy, oh boy. So apparently the thing with, he said that when Trump went on Joe Rogan's show, he had 73, that video got 73 million views. Now, I just looked it up. Apparently, it had 49 million, so I don't know where the 73 million came from. But either way, let's just go with the 49 million right now because I feel that's more accurate. Unless somebody can prove to me otherwise and show me some evidence that, debunks my claim or whatever. So, 49 million views, Joe Rogan has Trump on the show. Harris goes on Alex Cooper's podcast called Call Her Daddy. That got 855,000 views. She goes on Shannon Sharp's podcast, Club Shay Shay. That got just over 1.6 million views. And here's the one that actually kind of surprised me. And I watched this one from start to finish. She was on Roland Martin's show. It only got 70,000. My goodness. I mean, So, guys, I know that this may not be important, but see, a lot of the middle-aged and older folks have to understand this. We're living in a podcast online era. So, I mean, what do a lot of people do to get attention these days? They do online stuff, social media, they go on podcasts. People get famous off of Instagram. People get famous off of TikTok. People get famous on Snapchat, Twitter. I mean, that's just YouTube. I mean, and we're living in, we're just in that time now. I know a lot of the older folks will say, oh, you don't do that. You go on the news. Well, I say you can do both because Joe Rogan has the #1 podcast in the nation, regardless of how you feel about him. And keep in mind, I used to watch him quite often. But I think that would help, especially with the younger crowd. And don't get me wrong, I can understand the thought process that, oh, that's ridiculous. I don't control that whole thing. I don't. I have no control over that. I'm just giving you the numbers and I'm just telling you what I see. Now, is that Harris's fault? No. Is it the Democrats' fault? No, of course not. For as much as you Democrats may not like it, they're going to have to go on some shows that are not think-alike shows. And that's why I had been proposing that Harris and Walz go on Fox News. Now, they did. Now, Tim Walz went on there. I don't know whose show he went on. It might have been Hannity. I know Kamala went on Brett Baer's show, and they did like a little half-hour thing, and they kind of exchanged some dialogue, had a little bit of a debate, little disagreement right there, which that was to be expected. I don't know how many views that got off top. I actually forgot to check that before I started this video. So you got to do the online circuit and you have to do the television circuit. You have to go everywhere that you can. Now, does that mean go on every single person's podcast within a campaign? No, you're not going to be able to do that because there's way too many people out there. So here's the thing. Here's what Democrats have to stop doing. Democrats have to stop doing this. And I mean the Democrats in the media, the Democratic podcasters, the Democratic activists, everybody. We already know how bad the Republicans are. You can sit here and say, oh, a lot of them are racist and sexist and bigoted and warmongers and neocons and all that stuff, fascists, whatever. Okay, yeah, we know that to be true, but if that's all you run on, that'll either drive people away and make them want to vote for the other side, which, don't get me wrong, I know that there's no stream of logic to that, or that could also just prompt people to not want to vote at all because they think, oh, both sides are bad. Well, we hate both sides and there's no purpose in voting because we're going to be screwed either way. There's a lot of people who still feel that way because there's a lot of people who still didn't vote in this election. They didn't vote in a lot of other elections. Some people just don't vote at all. So I'm going to get to, we have to stop just only, again, this is just stepping out the comfort zone here, and this is giving constructive criticism to the Democrats. Yes, you can go on the Think Alike shows, and I'll watch it because I watch those shows regularly, or at least semi-regularly. Yes, if whoever the Democrat nominee or frontrunner is for 2024 for president, or I would even say the ones running for Senate, Congress, governor, whatever. Yes, go on The View. Talk to Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar, Sunny Hostin, Sarah Haynes. Yes, talk to them. Yes, you can talk to Howard Stern. Yes, you can talk to Drew Barrymore. Yes, you can talk to whatever other Democrat runs a podcast. You can talk to, I don't know, Alyssa Milano or whoever it may be. Yeah, go talk to them. But also go on Fox News. Just for the sake of, because here's the problem with that. Here's what a lot of people aren't understanding. So for the longest time when Harris was not going on Fox News or Newsmax or any right-wing source, there were a lot of independent and undecided voters who looked at that and they thought she was weak because they said, oh, she's not willing to stand up against people who disagree with her. So she wants to cuddle up to Drew Barrymore and Whoopi Goldberg. Now, I'm not saying this is what I thought. I'm just telling you that was the mentality going on, and people told me that in person, okay? I'm just telling you that that's a thing. So go on Fox News, talk to Sean Hannity, talk to Brett Baer, talk to Laura Ingraham, Greg Gutfeld, Brian Kilmeade, Neil Cavuto, Janine Pirro. Again, I know these are people that we don't like, very disgusting people. I get it. But talk to them, debate them, tell them why your policies are good without talking about the other side. But if the other side asks you, why do you not agree with, what this person did, then you can answer that. Do that. So we have to just stop staying in one bubble. We have to get outside of that, and that's how you reach more voters. Because some people will look at that and be like, okay, they are brave. Again, you didn't have to worry about me because I vote blue no matter who, except for Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema and Mike Bloomberg. Now, what we have to start doing, both in terms of rhetoric and policy, let's start with the rhetoric part first. For example, if Tim Walz, just throwing a generic example right here. If Tim Walz runs for president in 2028, here's what he's going to have to say. Not only does he talk about what he plans on doing for the country in terms of the substance of the policy and in terms of the context of what he's saying, he's also going to have to constantly point out to his voters, especially if he campaigns in the swing states like Ohio, Pennsylvania, and say, guys, listen, I know we didn't get it right last time. I know a lot of the state of Pennsylvania didn't feel like we were on their side, but guess what? This is why I'm here. This is why I'm talking to you. Listen, I did free school breakfast and lunch for kids in schools. I did public free college if you make under 80K. I did 12 weeks paid family leave, 12 weeks paid sick leave. I did these things. I did universal background checks, automatic voter registration. When I was a congressman, I sided with the Affordable Care Act, and I was advocating to get single payer universal health care. I helped pass legislation that would allow workers to join unions. I did sectoral bargaining for nursing home workers. I did $2.2 billion increase in K to 12 school funding. These are things that I did during my tenure as a governor. You have to say that and constantly point out how, hey, listen, when Biden and Harris were in office, there was a net, not outsourcing, but coming in, onshoring of 350,000 jobs. The CHIPS Act alone brought about 800,000 manufacturing jobs. And guess what? The other party voted against it. See, there's a way to attack the other side and go after them, but you can be mature about it, you can be adult about it, and just be truthful and factual about it, and just be real with it. You don't have to get into the insults and the name calling and say, oh, this person's stupid and dumb and racist or fascist or whatever. You don't even have to do all that. Just give him that stuff right there. You know, if Gavin Newsom runs, Gavin, you have to say, hey, in my state, yeah, listen, the government had capped insulin at $35 a month. Well, I capped it at $30 a month. Okay, $5 may not mean that much to a lot of you, but to some people, it probably does mean a lot because we know that there are a lot of people out there that were paying hundreds a month for insulin. I did that. I did proper protection equipment for kids in schools. I lowered the Medicare age to 50. When the government gave out $600 stimulus checks, I did an additional $1,000 on top of the money that the federal government gave you. There's that. I also gave $20 an hour to the fast food and restaurant workers. These are things that I did as governor. So, you know, if Whitmer runs, she can say, hey, I did this policy where I saved Michigan citizens $120 a year in auto insurance. I was able to fund K to 12 school funding without raising your taxes, and I brought both parties together to do that. So that's what you have to get onto. Now, here's the policies that I think that all Democrats have to get onto. And when I say get onto all of these, I mean get onto all of them. Now, some of these don't necessarily apply to governors because governors don't handle foreign policy. But if you're running for Congress or Senate, I would say more so president. But I mean, if you're running for the others, I mean, yeah, you could support that and continue to hammer away at that. Allow Medicare to include dental, hearing, and vision. Lower the Medicare age to 50. Do single payer health care. Do free community college if you make under $60K a year. $15 minimum wage across the board. Now, Biden did that, but he did it for federal workers and contractors. So he didn't do it across the board. But hey, the federal workers and the contractors, that benefited them, so great for them. That benefited a lot of them. Legalize marijuana, decriminalize it. Free all of the nonviolent drug offenders. Expunge all marijuana-related charges and convictions. Pull us out of Iraq, Syria, and Somalia. Reinstate the Iran nuclear deal. Reinstate the Paris Climate Agreement. Put us back into the World Health Organization. Eliminate medical debt. Eliminate school lunch debt. School lunch debt is not that much compared to the other forms of debt. Okay, you got mortgage debt, which is almost 20 trillion. It might even be a little bit more than that. You have auto debt at about 1.5, 1.6 trillion. The student debt is about the same. It's almost 2 trillion, right? Like 1.7, 1.8. What's the other one I'm thinking of? So you have that's mortgage debt, auto debt, the student debt, and then you also have the credit card debt, which is in the trillions now. It's just over 1.2 trillion. You also, which by the way, to be fair, I'm not saying cancel all of that because that's a next to impossible mission. I mean, it's next to impossible to tackle mortgage debt. Unfortunately, that might be left up to the people. But unless some states figure out a way around that, but I don't expect the presidential candidate to jump on that. But the student debt thing, yeah, continue to reduce student debt. Cancel up to $50,000 per individual. That will help a lot of them because a lot of people I know who owe like $60,000 and up. That cancels a vast majority of that. Do sectoral bargaining for manufacturing workers, nursing home workers, truck drivers, and construction workers. Implement the PRO Act. Extend the child tax credit to $6,000 per child. Now, we know that the Biden administration did a good thing on that. They did $3,000 per child if the child is between ages 6 and 17, and $3,600 if the child is under 6. Well, I would say to whoever, the Democrat that's running for president in 2028, you have to run on and actually try to deliver on, We want $6,000 per child. Now, we know that the other party is against that because J.D. Vance was one of the few who dodged the vote when they had a vote in the Senate a few months ago. It was like in the late spring or early summer where they had a vote to extend the child tax credit. It didn't get through. Why? Because every Republican voted against it and he dodged the vote. I would say this. I know some Democrats disagree with me on this one, but I would say a $2,000 stimulus check for anyone who makes under $60K a year. Those are the things that Democrats have to jump on. That has to be part of the manifesto. That has to be part of the platform. It has to be on the Democratic website officially. A lot of those things aren't. A couple of them are. I think the legalized marijuana part is on there. I think the 15 wages on there. It might be 12 or 13, but let's do 15. So that's what Democrats have to jump on. And another thing that they have to stop doing is stop playing patty cakes with the Republicans. Okay. Now I get it. I know why some Democrats were okay with the fact that the Cheneys had endorsed Harris. I get it. It's a way of saying, hey, we bring in different people into our bubble. It's not just Democrats. I mean, we have independents with us. We have Republicans with us. Some Republicans I can kind of maybe understand it to a degree. If you have somebody like Adam Kinzinger or, somebody like that. I think Mitt Romney was gonna support Biden, but then Biden dropped out, so Mitt Romney he didn't say anything. But it's like, okay, whatever. I'm not a fan of him either, so his endorsement doesn't mean much to me. But when you're talking about somebody like Dick Cheney, who is a neoconservative, far-right, extremist, narcissistic, egomaniacal war hawk, warmonger, war criminal, who lied this country into Iraq, Afghanistan, and many other places. Millions of people across the globe are dead because of policies like his. Not just him. You're talking Donald Rumsfeld, Karl Rove, John Ashcroft, people like that. It's happened under both Bushes, and it goes back a ways, and it's happened under other administrations too. Guys, do not accept endorsements from people like that. Now, I would say this. Hey, if Dick Cheney wants to vote for me, he can, because what he does behind that booth is really not my business, but I'm not going to be walking across the stage with him just buddy and shoulder with him like, oh, this is the guy. No, he's not the guy. So, no. I would say this. Whoever the next Democrat candidate, whoever is the front runner or nominee for 2028, you have to go on Fox News and debate all of them on there to show people, hey, I'm willing to debate anybody. Do that. Talk to independent and leftist podcasters, maybe even some right-wing podcasters too. Who are some of the highest viewed conservative podcasters? Let's see, you got Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens. I guess Greg Foreman is up there, Brandon Tatum maybe. Talk to them, but then also talk to your left-wing progressive podcasters that are oftentimes critical of the Democratic Party, but in a constructive criticism type way. Kyle Kalinske, Crystal Ball, Mike Figueredo, David Pakman, David Dole. People like them. Talk to them. And yeah, go on Joe Rogan because I'm just looking at the numbers and I'm just looking at what are the strategies to get more and more undecided voters. Because if somebody can make a decision about who they're going to vote for in a presidential election, they don't know anything about the issues, they don't know anything about the policies that the administration did, and they say, well, this person went on Rogan's show, so that means they're the candidate. Or that's the one I'm voting for. So if Harris went on Rogan, then who would you have voted for? Who would you have voted for? I mean, there's a number of people who didn't go on Rogan's podcast. I mean, Biden wasn't on there. Hillary wasn't on there. I think Bernie was on there. Yeah, Bernie was on there a couple years ago. Surprisingly, I haven't seen that one yet. I think I saw part of it a little bit back. I have to go back and watch it from start to finish. But I have a hashtag that I created. I see some of you had shared it, but not enough of you. So get to work. It's called SOMER, SOMER. Strategize, organize, mobilize, energize, realize. Democrats, we have a lot of work to do. And there are some states that we can get back with. The Senate is going to be a little bit more difficult, but it's not impossible. The House might be easier to get back in 2026. The Senate, we can get, let's say, because we're behind. We are -4. Do we have 44 or 46 Democrats in the Senate now? I want to say, let me cheat. Let me look it up now. Okay, apparently we have 47. So we're behind 3. We need 51 to get a slight majority. So that means we have to get 4, which means I have to start off by looking at what are the 4 most gettable states in 2026, and then what are the next 3 or 4 states that are gettable in 2028. That's what I'm going to do, and that's what a lot of you should be doing too. Now, again, as I've said before, I am just as, you know, unhappy and down and depressed and devastated that the election turned out the way it did. I'm not shocked because of, well, there's a number of factors, and I think some of you know why I'm not shocked about it. But, so guys, do you understand what I'm saying? If you're a Democrat, liberal, left winger, if there's anything that I've said in this video that you disagree with, feel free to comment below and just tell me. We can have the conversation. We can do a live video together, talk about it. Or if you prefer to just discuss it in private, I can do that too. I can respect that. You can message me, you can text me, you can call me, whatever. Email me, just something, whatever. Or comment on this video. So that's that. And yeah. So stay tuned, subscribe to my YouTube, and let's get to work.